Hey there, Scorpios. Welcome to your October 2015 Tarotscope. It's Rena here. And before I forget, I want to wish you early first decan Scorpios a lovely birthday. I hope you have a great time. And I'm going to give you some general transits during this month. Remember, this is a general reading. This is supposed to include every single Scorpio on the planet, which is silly on steroids. So, this is really more of a demonstration of the type of readings that I can do. And hopefully, you can get at least something out of this. So, the sun is going to be going into your sign on the 23rd of the month. Well, this means this will be your first house, but before that, for the first 3 weeks, it's going to be in your 12th house. And I always go back to that tarot card, the Four of Swords, in the Rider Waite deck, showing the person lying down in a church setting who is recuperating, praying, going within. And this is that kind of energy when you have planets in the 12th house. So definitely it's a great time to kind of look at the issues that may still be plaguing you that you don't like to deal with. The 12th house for a Scorpio person is actually not something scary because it's a fellow water house. You rule the 8th house, and the 12th house is ruled by Pisces. So it's an emotional house. It deals with buried issues, but it also deals with past lives. And a lot of the psychological afflictions that we find ourselves struggling with in this lifetime are probably a long held pattern from many lifetimes. And unless we bring them to light, these patterns have a tendency to kind of hang on with us. It's human nature to not want to deal with the unpleasant. And Scorpios are known for digging very deeply underneath the surface. But I sometimes think that you guys have a tendency to do this more with other people than with yourself. And so the tendency to be suspicious of other people or cynical of other people's true motives is really a projection. And it would be much better for you to look in the mirror and try to weed out your own garden and not to cast aspersions on other people. And I don't say this with a critical spirit. I really don't. I say this only with the desire to help every sign to get rid of the shadow self and the tendencies therein. And so during this sun in the 12th house for the first few weeks, this can be more likely to occur. And then we have other planets parading through there as well. But the new moon will be there, and this occurs on the 12th, and it's going to be at 19 degrees of Libra. And then we have a full moon, which occurs on the 27th of the month, and this is at 3 degrees of Taurus. So this is your opposing sign, and that means that it's going to occur in your seventh house. So Taurus is a laid back sign, but because of the opposition with you guys, and because it's occurring in your relationship sector, expect developments in this area. And this could be either that you take a relationship to a whole new level, or that you discover something that you didn't know about a partner, or some people may experience endings. It all depends on where you're at right now, actually. And you may not even know where you're at. This may be the time when you find out the truth about something, because a full moon can bring things to light, be they positive or not so much. So that's another important thing that's happening. And then we have Venus going from Leo into Virgo on the 8th. So it's going to be going from your 10th house to your 11th house. And there are a number of planets that are in this 11th house during the month of October. So the 11th house is a house of groups and friendships. So if you're in the corporate world, I think this would be a wonderful time for you, Scorpio, because having never been in the corporate world myself, I assume that people have to work in groups a lot and speak to organizations. And so the 11th house favors that, especially with Venus there. You can be actually quite irresistible to other people in a kind of a mass scale setting. And Jupiter is going to be there for a whole year. So you benefit from friendships, you benefit from groups. And it's also the house of hopes and wishes. So this could be the time when your dreams come true during the next 12 months when Jupiter blesses this particular sector. But with Venus meeting up with Jupiter there, it adds that extra oomph of kismet, so to speak. Likewise, the North Node is going to come into this house as well, and this will really give this kind of faded energy that is actually faded in a positive way to your hopes and wishes and groups and friendships. Saturn has finally left your sign after having been retrograde in Scorpio, and then even after it's stationed, it remained for a bit in your sign in the latter degrees. And in September, it finally left, went into Sagittarius, so it entered your second house of earned income. So this can be seen in a number of ways. It can stabilize your finances, to be honest. And so this can be quite good for you if you have felt that things were a little bit hit or miss. It's a great time to make long range plans in your earned income and how you really want to do that. And thinking in terms of that 11th house of hopes and wishes, this can be a great time to really consolidate your money making opportunities and ground them into the physical dimension. Mercury has been in retrograde as the month begins and goes direct on the 9th at 0 degrees of Libra. And so this will, I think, help you in the sense that perhaps during the retrograde period, you were kind of having anxieties that went over old ground, and even, old meaning, the 1300s or something like that. But all kidding aside, having Mercury in the 12th house is something to really be mindful of so that you don't allow yourself to get into any kind of unconsciously negative thinking patterns, whether Mercury was retrograde or direct, because the tendency is to kind of have anxieties and other sorts of thinking patterns that are generated by issues that are really buried within you that you have not even acknowledged. And we see this a lot with bad habits, where people are motivated to do things that they wouldn't normally do because they feel a certain compulsion. And it's not something that they're conscious of. They don't really know why they feel compelled to do certain things. And so this kind of thinking can lead to actual negative behavior patterns if you're not aware of it. But I just made you aware of it, so you can thank me now. I think I forgot to say that Mars will be with Venus in the 11th house during the month of October. Mars is the planet of action, and so you may feel more compelled to be social and to network and things of that nature. And this is particularly helpful when the sun enters your sign because this puts a spotlight on you, and you are going to be more interested in promoting your image to the world. And with Mars in a very social area, this works out very well. And I wanted to say that Venus and Mars in that 11th house, along with Jupiter there, really form a nice angle to your identity in the world. So, this is a great time for self promotion and doing so in order to have your dreams come true. Just be careful that you do not become too aggressive in your efforts to socialize because Mars can be quite overbearing if it is not reined in. For the first half of the month, I drew the Three of Wands in reverse and the Five of Swords in reverse. And so I think you're going to have to examine your attitudes about security versus exploration and expansion, and not playing it too safe. And when the sun is in this 12th house, this is a great time to kind of just reflect on what keeps you stuck and what keeps you playing small because you're afraid of the consequences. And I know that Scorpio, being a fixed sign, is someone who wants things to be predictable to some degree. And there are times when you really need to step out of your comfort zone. And then the accompanying card for the first half of the month is the Five of Swords in reverse. And so this is a card that asks you to stop being suspicious. Maybe there was some reason why you felt the need to be. Maybe you were met with betrayal, or somebody was dishonest with you, and so you have kind of maintained this stance too long, and maybe this is a lifelong pattern with you. So this is really a time to kind of work on that, because that creates blockages as well. When you don't have faith in other people, when you're always suspecting the worst, then what else can manifest into your reality but what you put out energetically? But interestingly, for the second half of October, you got the Seven of Wands in reverse, and this is a card in its upright position that is all about standing up for yourself, being assertive, saying no if you have to, and things of that nature. But this is going to be either telling you that you're not being assertive enough and that you must be assertive, or it could be saying that it's time to retreat. I don't see any cards that indicate a legal case, but I'm sure that there are at least some Scorpios who are going through some sort of divorce or custody issue. But the other card that I got for the last half of October was a Sun card, and that's probably the most positive card in the deck, at least in the top three. So, this is a card of just pure joy, fulfillment, a sense of accomplishment of some sort. So, it seems to me, with those three reverse cards and then the Sun card upright, that October may be a month where there's a little bit of combative energy, or it's not just smooth sailing the whole time, but the outcome is whatever it is that you've been working towards or hoping for. It could also be in terms of your love life. And I will ask you to stay tuned for your love spread, because that's coming up as well. But it just bodes very well for the last half of the month in whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. So I hope you enjoyed this, Scorpio, and you can click the link below for a private reading if you would like to do so. Take care, everyone. Bye.